Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Jillz, and I normally talk about things like feminine energy, self-improvement, and wellness for women, but today I'm doing a little bit of a personal Q&A. You guys sent in some questions via Instagram or YouTube, and I'm going to answer those today, openly and honestly. So I did get a lot of questions. I hope to answer them all. I might not be able to. I'm sorry if I don't, but let's just get right on into it so I can get through as many as possible. And also, I'm wearing a dress. It looks very funny, like just from the top up, like I'm wearing an apron, but it's really cute when you see the entire thing. Much cuter. So one of the biggest question topics that I got was about my marriage. So one of the biggest questions I got was, how did you meet your husband? What age did you get married, etc., etc. I met him in high school. We actually started dating our senior year in high school. So I was 17 when we started dating, and we got engaged when we were 22 and married when we were 24. And how did I know he was the one? Well, I think there is, of course, just like a gut feeling there. I mean, I just couldn't picture myself living my life without him. But for like an actual practical answer to this, one big thing for me was that he was always very, very loyal. And obviously he was like loyal to the relationship and everything, but I mean, he was very loyal to like in an emotional way. If we ever got into like an argument or were struggling in some way, it was always like, okay, how can we do better? How can we improve? It wasn't ever like, maybe this isn't gonna work out. It was always just like, we're going to figure things out. And he made our relationship a priority, and it was very clear to him that he cared about it. And that's a really big thing for me. And he actually told me this just recently, but probably like 6 months into our relationship, he said that he pretty much already knew that he wanted to be with me for forever. And he didn't tell me this at the time, but I could sense that with his actions. Like, he was just very in it. He was always prioritizing me. And it was just very clear about how he felt and how much he loved me. And obviously there's a bunch more, but that's a really big one for me. Also, how have you guys moved past arguments with each other? I mean, obviously we've been together for 12 years now, so there were obviously quite a few struggles or arguments that we've gotten in, but I think it just goes back to what I was saying, like, we just care so deeply about our relationship and making it work and being able to work together as a team, and I think that's the most important part. And I think it's just about understanding your partner and understanding your partner's needs and being willing to prioritize those if you want to see your long-term relationship thrive. Do you think that the first time you meet the person, you know whether your relationship is going to last or not? I mean, I think to some degree that you can sense whether you are compatible or not, but I also think that there are a lot of healthy relationships that started as friendships where you were friends for many years. So I don't think you'll always know exactly whether something's going to last forever or not, but I do think quickly within meeting someone that you will know whether you want to be around them for a long time or not. I also got some questions on motherhood. Am I planning on motherhood? Am I planning on kids? Do I see kids in my future? And yes, I do want to have kids in the future. I didn't always think that in my early 20s. I wasn't really sure what I wanted. To be honest, I have a lot of fear around having kids. I have a lot of fear around childbirth and like that postpartum very vulnerable period. I've gotten a lot better with it, I think, but I do have a fear around that. But yes, I do want to have kids. I've just never envisioned myself as having kids at a young age, even though I'm not a young age now, but I just feel like I'm not there yet. However, we may possibly try to conceive next year. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, it's something you kind of just have to play by ear and see how you feel. But we will take it as it comes. But yes, hopefully that is in our future. We both want like 3 kids if we could, but we'll see. So next bunch of questions that I got is all about my feminine journey, how I got into this, how it all started. Have I always been like this? And the answer is no, I haven't always been like this. I mean, I have always been a more innately feminine being, but I was very much in my masculine when it came down to like college and like right after college, like starting my career and everything. I really felt like I had to tap into my masculine energy there, and I felt like I kind of lost the feminine side of me. But my whole feminine energy journey started right after I had health issues, and I'll talk about those later because somebody asked about them. But through that whole healing process, I really started to dive into everything related to wellness and self-improvement. And I was just really interested in all of that kind of stuff. And obviously with healing, you start with food, you start with the basics, but then you start diving deeper into mindset and all of those different avenues. And I heard about this concept of feminine energy. I don't even know where I heard it. It was either on like a podcast or maybe it was just on the internet somewhere. I don't even remember, but I do remember that I read about it or I learned about it, and my intuition was like, you need to learn more about this. This is what you need. And it just kind of fascinated me like from the beginning. So I just started diving into it, and I loved learning about it, and I loved applying it to my life because it made me feel really good. It made me feel less stressed. It made me feel more relaxed in my body, and it made me feel more like me. And I also saw a lot of improvements in my relationship, not right away, because our relationship definitely, like, we lost that polarity over time because we just had a lot going on. We were really stressed. There was a lot of struggles that we both went through in like our early to mid 20s. And so we both lost that polarity. I was in my masculine energy, etc. And so when I was able to start incorporating this into my relationship, this shift took time because he also had to step more into his masculine energy. But it started to make our relationship more satisfying, and it made me feel the best that I had felt in a really long time. Any tips for beginners? Yes, don't overthink it. Just do what feels right to you. And I think there's a lot of people on YouTube now and other spaces that talk about femininity and feminine energy, and just because they do something or they dress a certain way or act a certain way doesn't mean that you have to do that. At the end of the day, feminine energy is not about being somebody you're not. It's about coming home to yourself. So it should feel authentic to you. Also, don't underestimate the power of wearing a dress that you love. What are your favorite resources to learn more about feminine energy? Some of the people that I love to follow on Instagram are Guerin, I'll put them here. I think that's how you say his name. Jake Woodard and Madeline Moon, and those I think are my favorites when it comes to like feminine energy, and they really tap into like the spirituality component of it, which I'm really interested in. But honestly, I feel like a lot of this stuff also just comes from my intuition and my own experience. What is the most important thing you learned during your journey of discovering your feminine energy? For me, I think that would be understanding the importance of doing what you love and prioritizing what you love and not letting other people's opinions or advice or expectations on you affect the way that you choose to live your life. For example, femininity can look so different between different people. Some people love the whole cottagecore vibe. Some people are trendy city girls. They love expensive handbags and all of those things, and none of it is right and none of it is wrong. You just have to do what your heart feels called to and not let other people get in the way of that. So next few questions are about the health issues that I had. So when I was 24, I developed interstitial cystitis, which most people don't know what that is, but it's an autoimmune condition of the bladder. It was not fun. That's all I can say. It basically feels like you have like a raging UTI at all times. It's really painful, but because it's an autoimmune disorder, the doctors don't have any solutions for you. The solution is just to live with it. And obviously there is a range with any autoimmune disorder. Some people get it really bad. Some people it's only really light, but regardless, it's very difficult to live with. That was the biggest thing for me, but I also struggled with crazy hormonal imbalances. I had acne and like some cystic acne around my chin that just would not go away. It was there for years and years. I had tons of anxiety. I also was just not very happy. And I also discovered like 2 years after that I had Epstein-Barr virus, which not a lot of people know what that is either, but it's basically just like a virus that lives dormant in your body. It's a part of the mono family. It can come out during times of stress, and it basically just caused a lot of fatigue, a lot of body pain. You basically feel like you have like a low-grade flu all the time, and it just was not fun. And so I was not enjoying being in my body. It was painful. I was uncomfortable. And there were many moments where I just had like meltdowns. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I'm so unhappy in this situation. And like I said, the doctors that I saw, they unfortunately didn't really have any solutions for me except for giving me anxiety medication to deal with the pain and the problems that I experienced, but that was not the route that I wanted to go. And I knew deep down in my heart that I could heal this. I had like no questions about that. And so I did my own research and I tried to go the more natural and holistic route because people had said online that they cured interstitial cystitis naturally and they didn't have any more problems anymore. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that because I'm desperate and I'll do anything at this point. And that kind of just pushed me down the rabbit hole of natural health and wellness and all of those types of things. And I kind of just fell in head first and did everything I could. And it wasn't overnight, but it worked. I got rid of my autoimmune disorder, which was the biggest thing for me. That was like my highest priority because that was literally like, it made me crazy. But then other things started getting better too. Like my cycles and my hormones started getting a little bit better over time. And just everything started improving. I didn't know this at the time, but reflecting back on it, I know that it also had a lot to do with stress because by that time I had really been through a lot. You know, my mom was sick and then she passed away, and then trying to, you know, be like a 22, 23-year-old new adult without her was obviously hard, and we were engaged. I obviously wanted her to be there at the wedding, but she passed away less than 2 months after we got engaged. So that's why we did have like a longer engagement, just because like I was not gonna go rush into a marriage after all that happened. You know, we wanted some time. And there was things with Cole as well, just that he was struggling with, and there was just so much that I think my body was just like, I'm done. Like, I need a break. And it just kind of shut down. So yeah, that was my little mini health crisis, and that kind of made me reevaluate my life and my lifestyle and my eating habits and just the way that I was living my life and my mindset and everything. That's kind of what started it all. And obviously that sucked. I hated it. And I'm glad that it's over, but I'm also really happy that it happened because I think that I grew so much from it, and I was kind of redirected to my purpose through that process. Next question is, what do you wish you knew in your early 20s, or what piece of life advice would you give to your 21-year-old self? Well, personally, if it was myself, I would say buckle up, sister, because it's gonna get real bumpy for the next few years, and it's gonna be hard, but you will get through it. But besides that, my advice would be real simple, and it would be do the things you enjoy, stop letting other people dictate your future, and create happiness in your life. Obviously, 20s are supposed to be a time where you're kind of, I mean, if you're building towards your career, usually you are grinding a little bit more. You're kind of at the bottom of the totem pole if you're in the corporate world, or maybe you're just starting a business. And obviously there will be some struggles with that, but at the same time, you are meant to live a happy life. And at the end of the day, your job and everything else doesn't matter if you're not happy and you're not feeling good within yourself and in your body. Next, how do you do your hair? Can you recommend some hair products? Well, I normally either do my hair with a Hot Tools curling iron where I took the clamp off and I just wrap it around, or I use my Dyson Airwrap. I like my Dyson Airwrap a lot. I know people have kind of mixed opinions on this, but I really like it. So that's how I normally do it every day if I want it to look nice. And I don't really have any great hair product recs for you guys because I don't use that much, to be honest. I have hairspray and I have an oil that I put in my hair before I, use heat products and things like that, but that's kind of it. The brand that I use is a brand called Away. I'll put a picture here, and my hairstylist recommends it. It's like a low toxin shampoo, conditioner, like line of hair products. But I will say though, that the health of your hair and the strength of your hair and even like of your skin and all that kind of stuff, it is so dependent on your lifestyle and how you choose to eat and your stress levels and all of that kind of stuff. And also, of course, what you do to your hair. Like, for example, I used to bleach it. I used to be bleach blonde, and it was a fun time in my life, but I am very glad that I went back to my natural hair color. It's so much healthier and it just feels so much better and more like me. But with that said, I actually am thinking about doing some really, really, really subtle highlights next month. I'm not sure, still debating. Just something like really subtle for summer and all that. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, these ones should be a lot faster. So, how old do you feel? I feel like I'm 27. I'm 29, but I feel like I'm like 27, but I also feel like a grandma at the same time. Do you have any favorite books or perfumes? I'm gonna answer this later. Do you speak any foreign languages? No, sadly. I wish I did. Besides YouTube, what are you doing for income so you can live your lovely life? Right now, for me, I'm just doing YouTube and that's all that I'm doing. But I feel like I should do a little bit of a like work history. So after I graduated college, I worked in like the finance and accounting field for several years. And then I had my health issue and then I decided to quit. And then I got healthy and then I started doing health coaching for women. And then that was great, but I still felt like there was still something missing. And that's how I kind of pivoted and went towards more of like the feminine energy, women empowerment space. And I know that I could be making a ton more money, but that's just not my focus right now. My main focus this year is, well, one, to grow my YouTube channel. I do want that. I also am just really focused on my health and kind of slowing down and living a very stress-free life. Like I said earlier in this video, I do want to have kids eventually, and I really want to start kind of prepping my body for that and getting as healthy as possible. But just to actually answer your question, my husband works very hard and he supports us and he doesn't care whether I make money or not. He just wants me to be happy. Okay, this is a good one. Sex life throughout years of dating and relationship with your partner. Okay, so I have a bit I want to say about this. First of all, I have been dating Cole since I was 17, so he's pretty much the only person I've done anything with. But I did have some issues with my libido and all of that kind of stuff in kind of like my early 20s and that whole period. Basically, I went on birth control pills when I was in college and that was my downfall. I should not have done that. It really, really messed with my body in many ways, but especially with my sex drive and my libido. And the sad thing is that I didn't realize how much it was messing with me until years down the line. And so it took me years to get off. But there were several years where sex was just not enjoyable and I was like, what the heck is going on? Is this a relationship issue? Like, what's the deal here? And I finally figured out like it was 100% my birth control pills and that was that. And so I got off and things did slowly get better. But because I had those tough few years, it kind of like shifted my mindset around sex and I had to reframe that again and start learning that, oh, sex is a positive, enjoyable thing. So yeah, I definitely had a lull there that was not very enjoyable, purely just from birth control pills, but it is what it is. I learned my lesson. What is your opinion on having children? Is a woman only feminine if she decides for motherhood? No, you can absolutely be feminine even if you don't choose to be a mother. Now, a big part of that feminine energy is that we are naturally more nurturing, but that doesn't mean that you have to nurture your own children. You can nurture other kids, you can nurture animals, you can nurture everyone, you can nurture plants. Our fertility is a really amazing, beautiful part of us. We can literally create a human being out of basically nothing, but we can also create in many ways. The feminine is that creation type of energy, and so you can create in so many different ways. You can create art, you can create businesses, you can create whatever. And so even if you don't want to be a mother or any of that kind of stuff, if you still want to tap into your feminine energy, you can still absolutely do this. Just focus on creation and nurturing in other ways. How do you make feminine friends and maintain those relationships? Well, I think the way you make any friends is by doing the things that you enjoy and doing the things that you value and finding people who do the same things or value the same things. I don't think you need to overthink it. I think that by doing more feminine activities or, you know, whatever it is, or joining groups that revolve around more feminine activities, then you can find other people like that. But with that said, not all of your friends have to be super feminine. Not all of mine are. I think there's a lot of beauty in having that variety, and you maintain those relationships just like you maintain any other relationship. You know, you put in the effort and you care about them and you care about what they're going through and you spend time together and you prioritize your relationship, you prioritize your friendship. Did you go to college? Yes, I went to USC, fight on. It was a great time. I loved it. It was a great school. Your favorite perfumes? I actually don't really wear perfume, and the reason for that is because just because all the chemicals that perfume has, it's not great for your body. But there are non-toxic perfumes now. I had one recently. The brand is called Josh Rosebrook, and it was the most amazing perfume that I've ever had. I got so many compliments on it. It lasted all day, and it was made with all healthy materials. It was just kind of essential oils and things like that, but it was amazing. And unfortunately, he doesn't sell it anymore because he only sells like one at a time. It's kind of like a specialty item, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna buy whatever he has now because the last one was so good. Best one I've ever had, way better than any of those like designer brands. And it didn't mess with your hormones. What is your relationship with food? I actually have a very good relationship with food. I've never really struggled with that area of my life. And I think a part of it goes back to that it wasn't something that like my mom ever struggled with too much. And so that was a good example for me. And also, to be totally honest, how I eat doesn't really make my weight fluctuate that much. Well, now I am a little bit older, so maybe it does, but I always eat pretty healthy regardless. But at least several years ago, like it didn't really fluctuate my body that much. And when I started eating really healthy, purely for my health, everyone thought I was, you know, losing weight or trying to lose weight or things like that. And I maybe lost like 1 pound through that whole process. I don't know. But I eat very intuitively. I eat what I feel like I need. I eat the quantity of food, like whatever I feel like I need. And I just eat to feel nourished and to feel healthy. And I think the most important thing here is to look at food as an act of self-love, as an act of like, you know, making yourself feel the best that you possibly can. And sometimes that will be pizza on a Friday night, and that's totally okay. What are your summer plans? I don't have anything interesting. I'm not sure if I'm going anywhere or not. Maybe for like a week or so, but we will see. But just gonna be hanging around here in Nashville and enjoying the sunshine. How to cure PCOS permanently? Well, I can't answer that question specifically. And of course, this is not medical advice, but to anyone who struggles with PCOS, the first thing that I would look at and the first thing that I would try to improve is your blood sugar. So make sure that you're having blood sugar balancing meals at every meal. So you're having protein, fat, and either like a healthy carb or like a healthy natural sugar, like fruit or sweet potatoes or something like that. If you do that consistently, then that might help you a lot. Any tips on how to stay in your feminine energy when triggered and anxious in a relationship? Yes, my biggest tip is whenever you're feeling like that, just get back into your body. Get back into the present moment. Get back into whatever your body's feeling. Get back into your senses and separate yourself from the monkey mind. And remember that that anxious monkey mind can be looked at as like a separate entity than you. And once you can get back in your body and see that anxious monkey mind as separate than you and be observant of that, then it helps you to feel more calm and centered. What do you watch? TV shows, movies, YouTube channels, and what blogs do you follow? I actually don't watch that much. I don't watch that much TV or movies or anything like that. I do watch maybe like a show or two a week, but it's usually very like lighthearted things. I do enjoy watching like The Bachelor just because it's so like it just doesn't matter that much. It's very lighthearted. I don't like watching a lot of anxiety, drama-filled shows. I do sometimes, but it's not like a regular occurrence just because I feel like it adds a lot of anxiety to my life. And with movies, I actually love those like early 2000s rom-coms. Those are always good. I don't watch that much YouTube. Actually, I do watch some, but I'm not watching it every single day. And fun fact about me, I actually love astrology, and like half of the recommended videos to me on YouTube are about astrology and like my horoscope. So let me know if you guys are into astrology. And I don't really follow any blogs. Okay, this is a good question. Was it difficult to transition from your normal day job to the career you have now? Do you have people who doubted you? If so, how did you deal with that? How did you deal with other judgments from women who didn't understand your way of life about feminine energy? So first of all, yes, it actually was a much more difficult transition than I thought it would be, but also very wonderful in many ways. It's just very different. You know, I was in the accounting space and working a very corporate job. So it's just very, very different. Yes, I definitely had people that doubted me. I would say basically one of the only people that supported me was my husband, and I would say like some of my close friends. But that's basically it. And to be honest, like it's just the way it is. Some people will doubt you, and you have to be confident enough in your decision and want it so badly that they're opinion doesn't matter. It's just about coming to terms with who you are and what you want and standing true to that. And I would say I didn't really get that much judgment from other women about feminine energy. All the friends that I have in my life are extremely loving and extremely accepting and not judgy at all. And that's very important to me. And if there was any judgment, I just ignore them. How can one deal with manly aggression? I think this is like dealing with like aggressiveness in men. I wouldn't tolerate it. You just don't really tolerate it, and you communicate in a very mature and calm way. And if they don't respect that, and if they don't respect your boundaries, then you exit. Next question, how do you handle grief and loss and depression? I believe in the law of attraction, but how about tragic things that happen in our lives? I actually really wanted to do a video on this topic, so I'm glad someone sent in this question. You know, I obviously dealt with grief and loss in my life with losing my mom and things like that, and that was obviously a hard time. And one of the biggest pieces of advice is first just to feel it. Like, you have to feel your feelings, you have to feel what you're struggling with, and you kind of have to like feel that pain in the beginning, and that's okay. And I think our world lives in like this way of thinking that something happens and you have to like bounce back right away, and that's just not the way that our body and our soul and our mind are made. And I remember when my mom passed away, she passed away on a Sunday, and I was back at work on Thursday, and I remember just being like, what am I doing? Why am I here, kind of thing. Like, obviously, like, I was there because I needed to get paid and I didn't want to get fired, but it's kind of just like made me reevaluate everything. And I think that it's okay to be sad sometimes, and it's okay to have grief sometimes. Like, when you go through tragic things, like, you're gonna be sad, and if you resist that, then it's just gonna be worse for you in the long term. And to be honest, I haven't really struggled with depression. I'm more of like an anxiety kind of girl when things aren't going so well. But I will say that one thing that I did hear on a podcast one time is whenever you're feeling like down or getting into like a depressive episode, sometimes it's when you're getting too much in your mind and too much like focus on yourself, and instead go and do something nice for other people. Break up that pattern and go do something nice for like a family member or a neighbor or whatever. And I thought that was really good advice. I don't know if that resonates with you, but I really liked that advice. Are there any books you've read that you consider life-changing? Yes, hold on. This one, I shared it in an old video of mine. This is probably my favorite book I've ever read. It's definitely a very like beginner basic book, but I read it almost every year, and I love how just like straightforward it is. It's all about how you are in control of your life and how your mindset is everything, and like that the way you think really matters. And I love this book. I'll link it down below for you guys in case you want to read it. If you could have a face-to-face conversation with any author, who would it be? I actually think that it would be Louise Hay. She unfortunately passed away, but I think she would be a really interesting person to talk to. She seemed like a very interesting woman. If you could travel anywhere, where would you go and what would you do there? I would go to Switzerland, and I have always wanted to do one of those like mountain coasters, or I think it's called a mountain coaster. I'll put a picture, but it's one of those little like mini roller coasters that you go through the mountains and things like that, and you're just in nature, and that is what I want to do. And I think the nature in Switzerland is like one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen, just based off of pictures, but it's just so green and so blue, and there's flowers, and that's where I would want to go. What are your favorite healthy go-to meals and snacks? Well, I always make sure that I focus on balancing my blood sugar. So for meals, I kind of just do like protein, fat, and a healthy carb or healthy sugar with every single meal, and I just kind of fill it in. So like protein, for example, like I love salmon, so maybe I'll do salmon, and then a healthy carb that I really like is rice when I cook it in bone broth. So good. I love rice. And then maybe I'll do like some avocado, and then maybe I'll do like, you know, some asparagus on the side or something like that. But basically I just focus on building a blood sugar balancing plate, and that's always how I do it. And usually my meals are really simple, not anything too extreme, but I do make sure that I have a good amount of protein with every meal, because that's what keeps me like feeling full and like stable energy. So that's something that I need. And I don't snack a ton, but when I do snack, I still try to go for the blood sugar balancing. So maybe I'll do like a slice of turkey or two for protein. Then I'll do like a little bit of apple and nut butter or something like that. But for just like quick grab and go, maybe I'll get like a date or you know, a banana or something like that. Not anything too crazy. What are some ways to stay connected with your feminine energy when feeling triggered or dealing with difficult people or situations? Well, similar to the tip that I shared before, getting back into the body and getting back into the present moment and connecting with that, with your body and your heart, that's important. But also sometimes I will exit the situation temporarily, or, you know, whatever the situation is, maybe go to the bathroom or go up to my bedroom and just have like some moments of alone time and quiet time to kind of like recenter my energy. And that always helps me. So even if I'm at like a party or like a big family function or dinner function or whatever it is, I'll go to the bathroom and then I'll just like stand there in silence for a little bit and connect back to myself. I know you had mentioned in previous videos that you struggled with autoimmune issues in the past. I have recently been diagnosed with a similar condition and was just wondering if you have any advice for people beginning their journey to better health and well-being. Yes, my number one tip of advice, especially if you're struggling with autoimmune things, is you have to know that you can get better. And I think sometimes there's like, we have all these names for diseases and we have all these names for a set of symptoms. But when you identify so much with it, like for example, if I was constantly saying like I have interstitial cystitis, like this is the rest of my life, then I don't think I would have ever gotten better because I didn't believe that I could get better. But deep down, like at a soul level, I knew that I could heal and I knew that I would get past this. And I also knew that it was happening for a purpose. Even when I was really, you know, much younger and I was in the deep depths of my struggles, I still knew at that time that there was some sort of purpose to it, and that really helped. But you have to know that you can get better, and that mindset part of it has to be there. Like the food is obviously important, you know, getting sleep, obviously important, stress levels, obviously important, but your mindset has to be on the right page or else you won't fully 100% get better. That's my opinion. Do you listen to podcasts? And if so, what is your favorite? Yes, I do. My favorite podcasts are Almost 30. I think that one is my favorite out of all. I also like the Skinny Confidential Him and Her podcast. And when it comes to health, I really like the Wise Traditions podcast, Doing It Different with Carly Johnson. I like the Model Health Show. Those are my favorites, and that's what I listen to the most. But by far, my most listened to podcast is Almost 30. That was most of them. There were a few more that I didn't get to. If I didn't get to your question, you can always DM me on Instagram. I'm on there. Before I go, I also just want to say thank you so much for being here and supporting me and subscribing and watching my videos and all of that stuff. It really means a lot to me, and I appreciate every single one of you. And I remember all the people that comment on like all of my videos and engage with me on Instagram, and I just want you to know that I see you and I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed this little Q&A. If you have any questions, you can DM me or you can comment below. But if you did watch this entire thing, drop a red heart in the comments below so I know. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and I will see you next time. Bye.